Imagine getting income every week from a single ETF. WPAY, or WPAY, promises exactly that. But weekly payments come with trade-offs. Today we'll investigate how WPAY works, what makes it special, and what to watch out for before adding it to your portfolio. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Simply Money. WPAY is a brand new ETF from Roundhill, launched September 4th, 2025. It gives you exposure to all of Roundhill's single stock weekly pay ETFs in one ticker. That means instead of buying many ETFs just for weekly income, you can get an entire basket under WPAY. Sounds efficient, but there's more under the hood. We'll go through how it's structured, how it pays, what risk it has, and who it might be right for. Before we dive into it, leave me a comment down below. Have you already bought into WPAY? Do you plan on it? Are you waiting? How long do you plan on waiting? Just kind of give a little feedback in the comments below. I look forward to hearing what others are doing. For those that follow the channel, you know that I purchased a small amount of this. I think it was around $2,000. It's like 112 shares, somewhere right in there. I'll have an update coming at the end of the month showing you all of my dividend distributions and income from these different funds, including my SCHD, my BTCI, and my ULTY. Stay tuned for that. What is WPAY? First, it tracks the Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe Index. It's a fund of ETFs composed of single stock weekly paying ETFs. So basically, if you look at it, it is made up of a bunch of other weekly paying ETFs. There's actually 15 of them, I believe. So let's go through them real quick. These are all tracking. You can see here on this chart the weekly ETF that they're tracking, and they all make up pretty much between just under 8% down to just under 6%. It's very equally weighted all across 15 of these different funds. These are all Roundhill weekly paying funds, and this WPAY has basically balanced all of those. Now, some people may say, well, I can just do that myself, but it rebalances for you. It's just another ETF that is making it easier for you to own multiple different holdings. So if you've been looking into Roundhill, and you're not sure which one to pick, or you're not sure how much to put in each one, they've kind of done the legwork for you, and that helps comprise this fund of ETFs. It's equal weighted, monthly rebalancing, so all underlying weekly pay ETFs have a similar weight. The distribution frequency, WPAY expects weekly distributions. However, those distributions may exceed the fund's income and gains for its taxable year, which means excess payments could be classified as return of capital, or ROC. I just did a video on ULTY and what ROC is. You can check that out on the webpage. Here's the link up above. And you also have to look at the fees. The gross expense ratio is 1.28%, which is high, but because of the amount of work they're doing, it's expected. And we're curious to see what those distributions will be from that. The net expense ratio is 0.99%, but thanks to a fee waiver through September 2026, there won't be that fee. That's a good thing to look at. What are the pros or advantages of WPAY that I see? Here are some of the strong points. 1, weekly income stream. For income-oriented investors, weekly payouts can be attractive for cash flow. Instead of waiting monthly or quarterly, you potentially get more frequent income. Number 2 is diversification across weekly pay ETFs. Rather than pick a single weekly ETF, you get exposure to the full suite. This smooths out risk from any single underlying fund. Third, it simplifies access. If you want weekly pay exposure, instead of buying many individual ETFs, WPAY bundles them into one ticker, less hassle. For those of you that don't like managing things too much. Fourth, you have potential for amplified performance. Some of the underlying ETFs use leverage 1.2x in derivatives, which can amplify gains if the market is favorable. The fifth is its transparent structure and innovation. Roundhill is positioning WPAY as a thematic income innovation. They've disclosed many of the risk and structure For people who like cutting-edge ETFs, this may appeal. And that brings us to the cons and the risk. What to watch for. Be realistic. WPAY is not without downsides. Here's what you should consider carefully. Return of capital risk. Since WPAY's distributions might exceed the income and gains, some distributions will likely be ROC. That reduces your cost basis and defers taxes, but if too much ROC, it may mean your income isn't organic. The second risk is leverage and derivatives. Underlying weekly pay ETFs include a 1.2x leveraged exposure and uses derivatives or swaps and options, which magnify losses as well as gains. In a volatile or bearish condition, the magnification can hurt. Third, non-diversification or concentration risk. Because it is a basket of single stock ETFs, many holdings are concentrated in certain names, big tech growth stocks, Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, Tesla. If any of those have bad weeks, WPAY will feel the pain more than a broad market ETF. Fourth, expense ratio cost. 1.28% gross, 0.99% net with waivers is higher than many basic index ETFs. Over time, fees reduce net returns. Fifth, new product risk, limited track record. It just launched, literally September 4th, 2025. No long history. Even ULTY and these others don't have a long history when you're talking a year, 2 years, 3 years. That is not a long history, but at least they have a little bit of track record for you to look at. This has no track record. We don't yet know how it performs in a market downturn. Sixth, volatility and compounding risk. Weekly distributions plus leveraged derivative components can result in unexpected volatility. If distributions are paid weekly and NAV drops, total return may lag. Again, I'm not saying this is what it's going to do. I'm simply sharing what it could do. Here are some of the risks that you need to consider. And the seventh one is tax treatment complexity. With ROC, derivatives, and weekly distributions, tax filings will be more complicated. Investors in taxable accounts should understand how ROC and dividends are reported and taxed. If you don't understand, you should have somebody helping with your taxes. Get with an accountant. So suitability, who it's for and who should be cautious. I believe this is good for income-oriented investors who heavily value cash flow and don't mind complexity. It's good for investors who are comfortable with volatility and derivatives and want exposure to high distribution strategies. And it's good for folks who hold in tax-advantaged accounts, possibly to ease ROC tax drag. And here's who should probably be cautious or probably avoid it altogether. Conservative investors who prefer stable yield and minimal drawdowns. Those who don't want to manage tax complexity or ROC adjustments. And third, investors depending on distributions for living expenses but can't afford NAV volatility. So here's some key takeaways. WPAY is ambitious, intriguing, and for some investors it might be exactly what you want. Weekly income plus equity exposure under one ticker. But it's not for everyone. The trade-offs are high, risk, complexity, leverage, and lots of moving parts. If you're considering WPAY, make sure you understand exactly what you're receiving. ROC versus income. Keep an eye on the NAV and consider holding it in an account that helps reduce tax drag if possible. Let me know in the comments, would you use WPAY as part of your income strategy? Or does the risk complexity make it a pass for you? And if you want, I can do comparison between WPAY and other high-income ETFs like ULTY or CHPY, so you can see alternatives side by side. But don't forget, I have limited data at this point, so this one may have to wait a few months at least so we can get some distribution and some history under our belts and do a comparison. I'll be keeping an eye on this and I'll give you updates as I get the information, and hopefully we can make some wise decisions together. I appreciate you joining me today, and I hope this has been useful to you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us get more videos out to others to help them reach their financial freedom, and I will see you next time on Simply Money.